distinguished guests, industry colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to tell you my deep gratitude of being invited to speak at this event. And on behalf of the 250,000 members of Cloud Security Alliance, I'd like to send our congratulations for your resilience in continuing on with this event, with the challenges you've had this year. This is absolutely, this is the best event in the world. I go to a lot of events, and the ecosystem, the agile ecosystem you have in Israel is second to none. And just my congratulations to you and Professor Ben Israel for your vision. I know many others as well. And I hope for you to have many, many more years of this conference. So thank you very much. I'm brought here because I can predict the future. I just don't know when it's going to happen. But what I'm going to try and do here in just a few short minutes is just sort of explain with a few use cases what I think we can extrapolate into some broader general challenges that we need to go figure out. So, Cloud Security Alliance, we might need to rename ourselves because full 2/3 of the work we do is actually AI right now. But as I like to sort of put it, when ChatGPT came out, it was like the cloud and AI got together and had a baby. And as we move forward, you're going to see this merging together and very symbiotic relationship between cloud and AI, where cloud is going to manage it, secure it, deliver it, whether it's in the data centers or it's on the edge. And I think another thing I might add is zero trust we're going to find is that's going to be sort of the philosophy that we're going to be using to make these more secure in the future. So let's go. So my 2030 memo, I thought, well, I got to actually sort of predicate that on what I think is going to be happening further out. And again, as many people have said, we're in the business of sort of thinking of all the bad things that can happen so that we can secure them. But I believe we also should have that very positive, optimistic look at things that we are going to see. And these are sort of positive, also just sort of what I think the reality is going to happen. But you could very well see that the things that this data analysis capability, the big data capability that AI has, is actually going to be able to process the information to allow us, and you can see the innovations with AlphaFold and other things, to be able to cure or successfully treat 90% of all diseases. I'm not including old age in that. I'm not talking about immortality, but everything we catalog as a disease, cured, treated in 2040. 90% of transportation fatalities, they're eliminated through what we're able to do with AI. AI agents are going to be categorized as something that's not quite a computer, not quite a human, and we do a lot of anthropomorphizing of AI today, and oh, it's lying, or it's doing that, it's just trying to please me. But we are actually going to find that how this statistical model, and we're going to see a lot of other models and large language models potentially sort of merging or interoperating with the world models and other things, but we're going to see those behaviors actually be something that cause us to treat them in almost sort of a new sort of legal classification. Not quite a human citizen, but not a CPU or GPU either, something else. And then in cybersecurity, this is probably something that I picked one time frame. This is starting to happen, and we're going to see this happen sooner, but the agentic cybersecurity is really doing all of the operational work with the correct amount of human oversight, but there's going to be a lot of surprises along that way. So when I talk about the diseases and what's going to happen there, in 2030, we definitely expect that AI is going to be just a very common part of our diagnosis, and the data gets ingested in that. And we are going to see that some drugs were AI discovered. We're going to start to see them going through the clinical trials and all of that really came out of AI. So when you think about things that can happen by not having this complete secure ecosystem, something like the tampering of a LLM that has all the proper weights for the proper oncology data that would cause us to actually treat things incorrectly, make the wrong decisions. And that would lead to more deaths. So there's definitely this need for us to have that very secure pipeline, which we don't really have today. And to really be more thoughtful, I try to go to other non-cyber conferences, and their take on cybersecurity is often very, very limited. So we're going to need to do some more holistic sort of work together here. So transportation, I love this. I don't know if you saw it. It always in our industry, it starts as a joke, isn't it? But I think it was in October, some prankster, they summoned 50 Waymos to a dead-end street in San Francisco just for a joke, and all of them lining up together and not able to get out. And when you think about all of this, and when I think about transportation, it's not all autonomous. There's going to be a lot of human assistance that happens in that time frame, because we're not going to cycle through all the infrastructure. But you can certainly imagine that ransomware is taking on much new and different implications when we think about, hey, an entire fleet of vehicles like stop because of this ability to get in the command and control, to be able to disrupt a lot of the telemetry around this and the communications that are used to optimize traffic. So certainly this is an area where us going much further in thinking about how we secure those channels and think of this as operational technology and have like zero trust being sort of a core principle for how we drive this is going to be very, very important. So agents, this is something that I talk to a lot of organizations, and they've built a lot of the technology, and they're very fearful about implementing this to its fullest. And liability is a huge issue right now, and understanding like who's accountable for what and what's going to happen. We're going to figure those things out through trial and error, I'm sure. But you're going to see that some of these agents, they are, and I can see new business opportunities. You could imagine like an organization that maybe does sort of recruiting, employment, and vetting and all of those. They're going to actually do that analysis of agents and maybe work with cyber insurance to be able to provide sort of that seal of approval that this agent will behave the way it should be. But also, we're going to have to give them rights, because that's what agency means. It's this idea of them having more autonomy than the traditional systems. But what I think we're going to see, and it was mentioned, and I agree with this, like this is a huge identity thing, and least privilege is an important thing. But I think we're going to see least privilege translate to least autonomy, and that's going to be sort of a term of art you're going to hear quite a bit in the future here. But as these things happen, and we'll probably create a classification of identity management that's not quite non-human identity, and it's not quite human identity. It's somewhere in the middle, a very specific agentic identity. We're going to see case law that determines what we do with this. We're going to have a lot of different sorts of decisions, what we're going to need to do. So it's something that's going to be very necessary. We're going to need to have the right amount of regulations for this, but the regulations are going to come first. There's so much we need to learn, but I think that's something that's going to be really important. So there's going to be that agent. Hopefully they won't go on strike, but you might see things like they don't actually, because of their alignment, when they are co-opted by a criminal actor, they maybe won't do what the criminal actor would like them to do. So, and then the fourth that I had was this idea of if cybersecurity is 99.9% agentic, what does that mean? And you can certainly imagine all of the operational sorts of things that we're seeing we've done our very first study of doing an A/B test on level 1 SOC analysts using agents. versus not. But you can see how much better the agentic, all the opportunities there. You can see the scale that really gives us. So that's certainly, you're going to see all of that sort of containment, automatic vulnerability discovery, refactoring of code. Like every day, we talk about there's COBOL code that's 60 years old that's actually in production. The idea of like a very large organization that's millions and millions of lines of code, refactoring that code all the time is going to be an amazing thing that's going to really help us, because there's a lot of concern that this could flip to the advantage of the attackers, all of the vulnerability discovery and all of the asymmetric warfare. If we're moving as fast as they are, we might actually find that like the good guys actually have the upper hand for this. And let's certainly like hope that is the case. And you know, the scenario I mentioned here, I think it's actually very probable that like entire cyber wars will happen. Like there's cyber attacks that happen that we find out through forensics, but like an entire cyber war from beginning to end is something we find out after the fact between two countries because of this. So to look back on 2030 from this 2040 state, I think like the fundamental question is like, are we thinking about this? Are we thinking about all the things that we need? We have no observational capabilities. We don't have a CVE system that works for AI. We don't have the blockchain working as watermarking, cryptographically signing all of the content so we know the difference between Royal Hansen talking and Royal Hansen eating Peking duck. We don't have those things in place. We have all the technology to do this. We have all the cryptography to do this. We have all the abilities, but we just need to go do it. So let's demand that capability. Let's think about the critical infrastructure that this is. And let's go beyond the shared responsibility to say, we're all in this together. This is a real collective responsibility. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.